I got zero motivation to do anything today. This isn't so bad actually. I'm officially back on track. Ooh, man, I'm starting to get hungry. I got this though. I'm gonna keep pushing. Time to bust out some snacks. It's the weekend. It's time to celebrate. Today, guys, I'm gonna break down what a typical week looks like for a guy over 30 trying to lose fat. And I'll tell you where most guys go wrong and how to fix it. Let's jump right into it. So it's Monday, and Monday is what I like to call the guilt day. And for most guys, we're coming off a weekend where we probably did some sort of damage, whether it's having a lot of higher calories, whether it's having drinks, whether it's combining both. So we're coming off that, the scale is up, we're typically tired, and for most guys, the motivation is just super low. So what we typically do, that's a mistake, is we say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna start back tomorrow, or I'm gonna start back on Wednesday. What you need to do, and what the fix is, and this is the difference so many times between losing and winning when it comes to long-term fat loss, is you have to get back on track right away after a Monday. We're all human, even myself. I eat pizza, whiskey every single Sunday. That's what I do. I have it strategically planned, and we'll talk about that later in the video. But what I never do is let the bender go on for a few days. So if you guys had a higher calorie weekend, that's okay. We're human, we're guys, I totally get it. But just make sure you own the Monday, because if you don't own the Monday, even if the motivation is feeling low, then you just set yourself up for a week of lack of success. Tuesday, and Tuesday is the day I like to call the motivational high day. For most guys now, we're a day removed from the weekend and we're starting our work week, and we just feel a lot more motivation. So typical behaviors in this day for most men is we typically get back to our workouts, we're typically back to our eating, and we're just feeling good overall. And the typical psychological thing I've noticed with a lot of guys on Tuesday is, oh, this isn't so bad. Like, why can't I always do this? So what is the fix on Tuesday? Because I'm giving you a fix for each day. Well, for most guys, there really isn't a fix, because like I said, the Monday is usually the tough day to start back on track, and the Tuesday is usually pretty motivating. But of course, if you let the Monday come into the Tuesday on the quote unquote bender, just make sure you get back on track. But if the motivation is feeling good on Tuesday, you know, you're getting your lifts in, you're eating properly, keep doing what you're doing, and there's no need to fix anything. Wednesday, and this is what I like to call Hunger Wednesday. So for a lot of guys, we start to maybe slip into some bad patterns and the motivation gets a little bit lower on the Wednesday. And I'll explain these in 1 second. Because this is why in our program, like, we've noticed that guys tend to fall off a little bit more on the Wednesdays. This is why we have a midweek check-in to make sure our guys are on track. Because some common behaviors that we see when it comes to men, you know, trying to lose fat, on the Wednesday, the hunger just starts to kick in a bit more, because typically speaking, we've lowered the calories either the Monday or Tuesday, or maybe just a Tuesday if you went on that bender continuing for the weekend. But the calories are a little bit lower. We have just more stress in the week kind of built up, and we start thinking about snacking more. And this is very common. So if this is you have 3 main things that you need to focus on, and here's your fix. Number 1, you gotta make sure your protein's high, especially in the morning, because if you're having these hunger cravings, high protein, I'm sure you guys know by now, I'm not gonna go into too much detail, it's gonna help fill you up a lot more. The second thing you need to do is you have to make sure your sleep is on point. Now this would obviously reflect the Tuesday evening going to the Wednesday, but obviously every single day, make sure your sleep's dialed in, because maybe you guys don't know this, but if you aren't sleeping properly, your hunger cravings actually skyrocket up. So make sure your sleep is dialed in, especially on the Tuesday evening going to the Wednesday. And the third thing, again, this should be basically every single day, but make sure you stay hydrated throughout the days, because if you're always thirsty, sometimes that's mistaking it for you being hungry. So Hunger Wednesday, guys, if you own this, you only got a couple more days to own, and we'll talk about the weekend after that. Thursday, and Thursday is what I like to call adaptation mode. So for most guys, this day is a lot easier than Wednesday for a couple main reasons. Number 1, the hunger typically usually goes down on this day, just because your body typically gets a little more used to it, as weird as that sounds. But the second thing is your motivation's typically just a little bit higher on this day, because we're getting to the end of the work week for a lot of people, right? I know some of us work weekends, but you see the light at the end of the tunnel. So generally speaking, your confidence is a lot higher on this day. Your workouts are on point, your diets are on point, and you feel pretty good overall in terms of where you're at. So the fix when it comes to this day, For most guys, there typically really isn't too much of a fix. But what I would say is just make sure you dial this day in, because we have the weekend coming up. And again, we'll kind of talk about what to do in just a few minutes here. But make sure this day is dialed in particular, and you're locked in with your diet, your workouts, your sleep, your protein, and everything. Friday is here, and Friday is what I like to call the crack in the system. So for most guys at this point, we've accumulated a decent amount of work stress, fatigue in general, right? And at this point, we're kind of looking for some good dopamine hits to make us feel good. Now, when I say dopamine hits, like I'm not talking about cocaine, obviously. I'm talking about like food is a pretty big dopamine hit, or even like alcohol could be as well. I'm sure you guys understand dopamine by now. So what typically happens on Friday, and what I've noticed for so many guys is, we get our workout in, so it starts off the day pretty good, but then as the night starts to go on, we want to celebrate once we're done work. And this kind of leads to either late night snacking, whether it's like getting the chips out, getting the beer out, getting, nachos, whatever, or even having that takeout temptation. Maybe it's like a family thing and you're ordering Uber and pizza every single night. It's very common that I see. And this is what typically happens on a Friday to end the week for a lot of guys. Now, here's the fix. We're going to talk about specifics in terms of like calorie cycling later on, so we'll get to that. But a cool little thing that you can do in terms of getting over these temptations is you almost want to gamify it with someone. So I'll explain what I mean in 1 second here. So, but whether it's with your partner, a friend, the more you can gamify, staying on track, the better it's going to be for you. And let me give you an example. Let's say you live with your wife. Well, obviously you live with your wife, but your wife, your spouse, whoever it is. Let's say, for example, you see chips in the drawer. You can kind of gamify by saying, first one who grabs the chips out has to do 20 push-ups. Or first one's drinking a beer has to do 10 burpees. The more you can kind of make it fun and gamify it, typically speaking, it's going to help you stay on track. And again, we'll talk about more practical things that you can actually do when it comes to calories. But for now, when it comes to Friday, try to gamify it the best you can. That way you minimize those temptations. Okay, it's Saturday, and Saturday is what I like to call the social gravity day. And for a lot of guys, this is where it really starts to go downhill. And a few common behaviors for most men on Saturday is we typically have more social events, whether it's with your friends, maybe just like, post-work stuff, partner, whatever. Usually more alcohol's involved. Maybe we're going to more restaurants, and there's just less structure going on overall on these Saturdays, right? So typically speaking, our calories are a lot higher on Saturday, the protein's a lot lower, and we have a lot less nutrients to make us feel full. So here's what you're gonna do though, and we'll kind of talk about, again, how to structure this on Sunday in terms of lowering your calories for specific days. But for the Saturday, you wanna make sure you're owning a few main things. So number one, try to make sure you get a workout in beforehand if possible. So just try to make sure you get whether it's like a 30-minute lift in, a 30-minute walk in, try to get some sort of activity in. The second thing you can do is lower your calories the night before the night you go out. So let's say it's like Saturday, try to lower your calories Saturday morning, but on the nighttime, you have more wiggle room because you didn't basically indulge in so many calories earlier in the day. And the third thing, just make sure your protein is high as well. This goes hand in hand. So if we can have lower calorie options with higher protein, combine that with a good workout and or walk, then you guys will at least minimize the damage. And I like to call it the 1,500 calorie rule a night also. So let's say if you're going out, you don't have to count calories, of course, because no one wants to do that on a Saturday night in July when you're out with your friends. But just make sure that you don't exceed 1,500 and have a ballpark and a game plan. That way, you're basically not sabotaging all the hard work you just did and what we just talked about. Okay, it's Sunday, and Sunday is what I like to call the collapse. So for a lot of guys, this could be the tipping point to where we completely go off the rails. Now, Sunday's tough, right? We're typically more tired from Saturday. We typically have no motivation, and we even might be a little bit hungover from the night before. So some typical behaviors that I see from a lot of guys on Sunday is just not doing any workouts or walking. So it's a very sedentary day, right, on Sundays. And we just kind of go off of Saturdays. So instead of getting back on track and meal prepping for the week, we kind of just continue what we had on Saturday. Whether it's having a few more drinks, whether it's having takeout, whether it's having the leftovers from the night before, it just kind of compounds. We're compounding one bad day to another bad day on the Sunday. So the fix. Now, I was going to break this down for you guys, but I don't want this video being like 30 minutes long. So here's what I'm going to do. It's okay to have one high calorie day, but I'm going to show you exactly how to structure this into a week. That way you can have that high calorie day and still lose fat. Because this is what I do, and this is what we coach our clients to do. So if you want to see that video, I'm just going to put it right here. It's going to break it down fully instead of me making this like a 30-minute long video. Hope this helped, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe.